Hello, Governor. This is Steve, new from the Ville. And I want to give you 3 things that I learned from A Christmas Carol, a Season 5, Episode 14, Doctor Who video. 1. Everybody is important. Number 2. Being heartless is learned. And number 3. Heartbreak can have a positive or a negative effect on people. Stay with me. So let's jump in here and do a real quick rundown of this very special A Christmas Carol episode. Shout out to Charles Dickens and everyone who's a Charles Dickens fan. So the Doctor and Amy and Rory end up on a spaceship, and the spaceship gets caught up in a gravitational pull of a planet, and it causes the spaceship to start to crash. And they figure out by the rate of descent that they have about 1 hour. They are not being allowed to land on this planet by the guy who's running the planet. Name is Kazran Sardik. So the Doctor says, you know what, I'll just go see him. I'll go visit him. I mean, I do have a TARDIS. The Doctor goes down to the planet, and this dude gives off heavy Scrooge vibes. And you can start to see, okay, I see where this story's going. And it goes exactly there. Except this time the Doctor plays the ghost of the past, ghost of the present, and ghost of the future. He goes back in time to visit a young Kazran. And while he's there, he's learning about the planet. He's learning about the dynamic between Kazran and his own father. And how Kazran pretty much came to be the way that he is. His father expected a lot, and their business of his father was a huge magnate. He pretty much ran the planet, and he was setting Kazran up to run the planet, but he was abusive, verbally and physically. And many of the people that came to the father expected, I don't know, some type of loans or something like that, and he ended up taking their bodies and put them in kind of a suspended animation thing to pay back the loan. There was one particular person whose family had to put her up for loan by the name of Abigail. The problem with this planet was the planet had ice clouds, but in the ice clouds actually had fish, so it was very different to where we're used to the fish and different aquatic life being in the water. Here, the water was in the clouds. So there was fish and other creatures that inhabit the water in the clouds flying around. Yes, sharks. Yeah, I know, it's weird. But something about music calmed the sharks and the larger fish that are in the water, calmed them down. And one particular person, Abigail, she would sing, and she just had the most wonderful effect on the sharks. It calmed them, made them demure. Yeah, I can't believe I said that either. But it calmed them down. So Kazran started letting her out of this suspended animation pod and spending just having the greatest Christmas day with her ever, every year. What he didn't realize is that the number of times he let her out of her pod, the number that was on her pod decreased by 1 every time. She was living on a limited amount of time. So Kazran got older, and the older he got, he began to fall in love with Abigail. But then when Abigail shared her story with him on how she ended up in the pod and what was going on, and that she had a limited number of times to be let out of the pod, in his young adulthood, Kazran changed because he had fallen in love with Abigail, and he saw heartbreak on the horizon, and he couldn't take it. So he got to maybe her last time. She had one more left. And when the doctor showed up, he refused to let her out. And everything he said, everything he did, all of his actions, you could tell something was eating away at him, but he decided to revert to taking over the business from his father. Fast forward to the future, he has become his father, very much so. And a man that he never wanted to be like, he's become him. Reason? So even after all of this, after all he's seen, after all the doctor has done to show him that there was a different way, a better way to be, he's like, okay, I know, you came back to my past when I was a little boy. You came to, when I was a young man, I know what you're going to do now. Show me the future. And the doctor says, I already am. And Kazran turns around and sees the young him standing there, hearing everything that he had just said, the cynicism, just the awfulness. And he says to young Kazran, is this who you want to become? And the older Kazran realizes that everything that he hated, everything he didn't want to be, he had actually become. And it did make a change for the young Kazran. And the older Kazran decided to go and let out the love of his life, Abigail, out. And she didn't begrudge him. She knew why he had left her in. And she's like, she just commented on how much he had aged. But she loved him too. And they decided to spend her last time out of the pod together. And then they, did some old Christmas shit. And they rode in a sleigh pulled by a shark. I mean, okay, this is not one of those things where it jumped the shark, but it literally jumped with a shark. It's wild. But it was a very clever and imaginative retelling of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, because it's been done so many times through A Christmas Carol or a Scrooge story. So this was very good. And just Kazran Sardick was played by Michael Gambon, who, if you don't know, that's Professor Dumbledore from Harry Potter. Yeah. And Abigail was played by Katherine Jenkins, who is, I want to say, like the best-selling operatic singer of all time. Like, her voice is amazing. The three things that I learned in this episode. 1, there is a time when Sardick says to the doctor, these people in pods, they're unimportant. And the doctor's like, oh, interesting. I've never met anyone who is unimportant. And he's absolutely right. Everyone is important. But what exactly is importance? They may not be important to you, but they're important to someone. And a lot of people who go out and make grand discoveries and do all these wonderful things were once throwaway people, not thought of very highly or in high regard, because people have no idea of your worth. And it makes it even worse when you have no idea of your worth. Number 2, being heartless is learned. I learned from some of the best of being heartless. And whether that's a parental figure, whether that's someone that you had a friendly or intimate relationships, some people are just born bad. Some people are heartless from the jump. But most people learn to be heartless. That heartbreak, that betrayal. Because remember, betrayal can only come from someone who's close to you. That is learned. And every time your heart gets stabbed, it gets pierced, it becomes harder. And that's defense for you. That is to protect you. To be heartless is a defense mechanism that most people have. And some people learn it all too well. And they take out that aggression and that need, not for revenge, but to protect themselves on people a lot of times who don't deserve that whatsoever. Number 3, heartbreak can have a positive or negative effect on people. A quote that I love is from Mark Rubin. A heart that can break is better than no heart at all. The thing is, we talked about being heartless, but when you have a heart that can break, it can have one of two effects on you. Now, it can have a negative effect and you become heartless and you become hard and you forget about all the good things in life, the good things in your life and the value that other people bring to the table. But heartbreak can also cause you maybe a brief period of mourning, depression, or whatever, can also send you out into the world looking, searching for something to fill your heart again. The sad thing is, a lot of times when we have heartbreak, our heart is left with a hole in it. It's a void. And we try to fill that void. And a lot of times people, because they don't recognize what's happening, they fill that void with substances, alcohol, pills, drugs, sex, people of the opposite, or these days the same gender, just because they don't understand what the hole in their heart is. It takes a wise person and a person that you guys heard me say it many times, I'm a full advocate for mental health, to understand and go through what you need to in order to get the help that you need to become better. It's hard. It's absolutely hard, especially after heartbreak. For me, personally, it took a couple years to get past it. And depression doesn't go away. I'm still working on it every day to become a better me, not only for myself, but for my children. And my heart is opening back up, and I feel good about it. A quote that I absolutely love is by Clarissa Estes. She says, "My brain has no heart, and my heart has no brain. Therefore, when I speak what's on my mind, I appear heartless. But when I do what's in my heart, I appear thoughtless." And that's very important because most people work off one of the two. They're either all up here or they're all right here. And that's why you see each one of my posts, I leave off that it has to be not only about this, but it has to be this. Those two things have to be in sync. They have to work in conjunction because that's how you are made. As much as your brain takes over and, you think about things that are logical and rational, you also have to involve the emotion. And sometimes your emotions can be overwhelming and they take over. Sometimes your mind is hard and you just never again. It's very hard to get those two things in conjunction and work together. But when they do, that is a sign of a better you. This is Rakai Steve, Newt from the Ville. What I need you to do is comment. Do you have any times that you've been mindful, thoughtful, but maybe heartless? Or that you have been full of heart and full of emotion, but didn't use the o la cabeza? What did you think of this episode? Like, share this as much as possible. And yes, it happened. Just last week, we hit 1,000 subscribers, and I couldn't thank you enough. But we're not done. It's only bigger and better. We're going up now. So I still need you to continue to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And yes, we're having another contest. We did have a winner for the 1,000 subscribers contest, and that was announced in all my social media. But we're having another contest. The Victor and the Doctor video, Season 5, Episode 10, On the Brink. Go watch that episode in its entirety. And once we get these viewing hours, I'll do another giveaway from everyone who, and the analytics tell me who watched the video. I can see it. And once you watch that video, I'll do another giveaway for some more merch. This right here, but always this right here.